Let the breath start to expand. Deep inhales. Long, relaxed, comfortable exhales. The idea that we're connecting with at the start of class today is this idea of the season. So the big words that we tend to use: peace, love, joy, tolerance, those kinds of ideas. Those are the words that we tend to throw out around at this time of the year. And so the idea in our class today is very much to try to embody these different things. We're embodying joy by having fun with some postures. Maybe we don't 100% get into it. That's okay. We try new things and we kind of take on that joy of a little child and the joy of stretching our body. And we take on peace by finding balance within our body. When we balance the shoulder stretches and the hip stretches together, is help our spine to come into good balance. We'll balance forward and backward, up and down, so that things, come into a good amount of harmony within our body. And then just overall finding, peace and joy through our very physical experience today. And in that physical way, we're able to start to embody some of those emotions deeper into the mind, into the spirit, into the words that we use. And so with these ideas of trying to bring up these qualities within our experience, with this to lead us on, let's begin some of our physical stuff. Let's start to take our knees into the chest and just let yourself start to rock around, rocking left and right. Beautiful. Dropping the feet down to the floor. We'll take bridge pose. Let's go a few rounds. Inhale, roll the tailbone up and then lift one vertebrae at a time. Exhale, reverse it all the way back down. Try to see if you can take the next breath even slower. Inhale up. Long exhale. And at a nice slow pace like that, 3 more. Two. And 1. Good. Lift up one more time and stay. If you can clasp hands under your back, feel free to reach for that clasp. Keep walking shoulders under. If you're completely in that full shape, continue to lift hips higher. So this is kind of a gentle first back bend for our body. That's one of the ways that we can experience joy as well. So any type of back bends are more of an outward warming type of position, and any forward folds are more of a cooling introverted position. And so occasionally we'll go outward toward joy because joy isn't complete unless we've got others with us. Take one more good inhale, lifting, and exhale, completely release hands, roll all the way back down. And we'll stretch around that hamstring and glute area. So lift the right leg up to the sky. Take a moment pulling that right leg in, however deep it's willing to go. To keep the leg extending long. That requires a little bit of quadricep strength, a little bit of contraction there. One more good inhale. And exhale, right ankle to left thigh, spread hands around that left side. With that clasp of the hands, try to continue to pull inward. Just ease that hip open. Nice inhale. Exhale, release the ankle. Right foot can drop to ground. Left leg gets its chance stretching upward. Use hands wherever you can comfortably reach to help pull it in. Ankle onto thigh. Give it a hug. One more inhale. And exhale. Release the ankle. We've got knees in a 90-degree angle, toes sticking straight out. Arms open up to the figure T on the ground. And from here, with any exhale, the exhale will bring us right back to the center. Any inhale takes us to a tilt partway to the side. And then the exhale is what initiates that contraction, bringing us right back. So inhale to the second side. Exhale to contract the fibers of the muscles to bring us back. So this makes it much less about momentum, just kind of tick-tocking the legs. It's much more about that strength and control. So if you're doing this, and this is super easy, you could probably do this all day. Then to make it harder, you would extend the toes upward or even all the way straight. So that eventually is that principle of torque, where straighter legs is more weight that's further away from our center of gravity. And so that's what makes it more difficult. Again, just use those inhales and exhales. Let's go 2 more each side. Whenever you finish that last one, bring the knees back to a bent shape, send the knees to a twist to the left. And we'll go part of the way or all of the way into cat chasing its tail. So know that if you don't want to go any further than this, if this has kind of hit the spot and you're like, no, I need to just stay, that is always going to be fine. If you want to go toward the second step, heading toward cat chasing its tail, the top leg, so that's our right one, will extend straight out to that side. So this could, notice how this deepens the twist and we start to get into the hamstring. I'll usually use my left hand to slide up the backside of that hamstring, reaching my fingers toward the toes if I can get that far. And so this is setting up twist and hamstring stretch. So this is another good place to stop. If you want to go all the way, full way, then your free hand, that right one, goes to the free toes, grabbing that behind your back or behind your glutes. If you're able to make that final clasp, open the shoulders back up into the ground, and you want to make sure that left thigh is in a quad stretch. So you'll point the knee closer to the bottom of the mat, the base of the mat. So in this way, we've got 3 things: the quad stretch, the back opener, the twist, and the hamstring opener. We'll give it just a couple more breaths. Try to relax our muscles into this step. Beautiful inhale Exhale, release the hands. Almost like a spring, the knees will start to come together towards stacking. And then the knees can begin to rise. Let's take those bent knees to the twist on the right side. Just pause for a moment as the muscles begin to open to that direction. If you're wanting second step, the top leg straightens out. Even sliding that right hand toward the toes, whether it makes it all the way or not, is fine. Maybe that last step, free hand grabs the free toes, and then we point the knee toward the base of the mat. A nice inhale. And exhale, almost like that spring again. When our hands release, our knees want to try to come together. So once we're there, knees float back upward. Let's roll like a ball 2 or 3 times. Starting to open some of those muscles of the back into a nice massage. And when we're happy, we're ready to be up, settle into cobbler. Relaxing the spine up and over. Let the head be loose, rocking it left and right. Good. As we start to rise, try to engage this pelvic floor area so we can sit up tall without hands. We'll begin to warm up our shoulders, arms floating off to each side. Let's do some arm circles. It doesn't necessarily have to be fast. It also doesn't have to be the hugest circle. Maybe the size of a basketball or so. Make sure that core is tightly engaged. So it helps us to maintain height. Good, and let's reverse the direction of our circles. If it starts to burn and you notice your shoulders kind of hiking into tension, try to consciously relax it and just go a few more. Here's 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Beautiful. Rock back so that you can open the legs out wide. Let's slide those arms forward. See if your low back can find just slightly more length, so straightening at that spot. And then maybe there's another half of an inch or so that we can release forward. Beautiful. And from here, rising back up. Let's pick up the knees and send the legs underneath our body. Let's take a few cat-cows. With some time, gentle rounding up and down. No need to force anything too quickly. Just lots of time, lots of space for it to continue to expand open. Good. One more breath in and out. Beautiful. When our spine comes back to neutral, today we're going to take several different kinds of the camel poses. And so our first one will just be a nice half camel to start opening our back without too much pressure. So come up nice and high. Open your right leg out to the right. I usually like to tuck my toes for this one, so it's just super easy to bring that left hand to the left heel. And then from there, hips go forward. This free right arm can either just be stretching back as our back is opening, or you can take that hand to the back of the head and widen the elbow out to also get into the neck. Whatever feels best. And that nice supported initial stretch. Good inhale. And exhale, let's reverse. Let's come all the way forward, dropping to elbows. If you like this spot, this is beautiful. If you want to inch your elbows a little bit closer to the straight leg, that's also fine. Beautiful inhale. Exhale to come back up to that high kneeling spot. Both knees down at first. Then the left leg slides open. Tucking the right toes. Aim the right fingers for that heel. Then hip continues to go forward as the free hand circles back. Or hand behind the head for the elbow going wide. Beautiful inhale. Exhale to return up and forward, going to elbows or even walking the elbows just a little bit closer to the straight. Your choice of how deep. Good. Coming back onto the mat. From here, bring both knees underneath you. Tuck both sets of toes. And we're up to that high kneeling place again. This is going to help us to warm up our quads for a moment. So toes tuck, arms start out floating in front of us. As one arm circles back, we're trying to go through the whole range of motion of that shoulder. We also lean back so that you feel your quadricep muscles engaged. Continue to circle back forward to start. Then left arm circles back. It's essentially a backstroke. And then we're back to start. Good. So make sure that you are feeling the shoulder warm up and that you are trying to go through more or less the range of motion of that shoulder. If you've got any sort of shoulder pain and you need to cut the circle in a different shape, like make it just slightly shorter, slightly smaller, that's okay. Always move in the way that's most helpful for your body. That's how we practice with the Hamza. Non-violence toward ourselves. Good. Let's take one more each arm. Beautiful. And then puppy pose. Planting the hands down. Continue to walk the hands forward so hips are directly over knees. This is mostly about a back bend, so do feel the heart magnetically drawn to the earth. Forehead could be down, or it's a little bit deeper if chin is down, if the heart's able to sink that far. So the shoulders opening in a good way. You could also bring backs of hands to touch and swing hands behind the back of the head. Sorry, this would be palms to touch. So it's essentially prayer position coming behind the back of the head. Nice inhale. Exhale, hands return down. Kind of inch your way backward, just sliding into child pose. Arms can be forward or tuck them backward if that feels nice. Embryo pose. Whenever you're ready to head to your first downward facing dog, let's start to tuck our toes, lift the hips. Begin to find nice movements into the body. Good. From here, we'll begin to float the right leg up to the sky. Try to send the toes just a little bit behind you. From here, when we start to square the hips back down, step that right foot to the outside of right hand. Back knee can drop down. We're in lizard. We can stay on wrists or lower maybe one elbow down, sometimes both elbows. Either way though, the hips are sinking forward. Turning up onto hands. Bring the hips over the back knee. Heel toe that foot right to the center and allow that leg to be nice and straight, bowing heart close to the thigh. As that right foot, that front foot begins to find the ground again, we're going to lift up the back knee and swivel directly open to a wide angle forward fold, so we're facing toward that left long edge of the mat. For this one, allow your hands to be in elbow creases and kind of allow the earth to magnetically attract the elbows closer and closer to it. If you find yourself touching the earth with the elbows, kind of wiggle your elbows forward so it's right at that edge of your reach. Nice, very long spine. Hands on the earth. And then start to pivot your way back up to face the top of the mat. From here, that left knee will slide to the outside of the right foot and come down to sit. If it's too much for your hips to have that right foot on the outside, you can bring it onto the inside instead, and that's fine. But otherwise, try to get that right foot across. Yeah, that's okay, Maxie. Go ahead and just put it on the inside instead, and that'll be fine. And I'll take a nice twist. So left hand or left elbow reps. Straighten the spine up, inhale. Exhale, continue to let it spiral open. Good. Unwind yourself forward. Both legs are straight out in front of us. Inhale, circle up. Exhale, drop forward. Okay, rising up, plant the right foot in front of us and the left hand behind us. And from this arrangement, we'll lift ourselves directly up into wild thing pose. So this free right hand gives us a little bit of momentum. It lifts, and we arch the hips up. Good. Nice inhale. Exhale, lower. Switch the legs. So now left foot is planted and right hand. When you're ready, lift. And lower. Good. Send your legs under and underneath you, sending it directly toward downward facing dog. Little wiggles for the legs. Left leg starts to float. And stack the hips, sending the toes behind just a little bit. Leg straightens, step left foot to outside of left hand. Back knee can lower, we're in lizard. If you'd like to sink down toward elbows, that's fine. You choose the perfect depth. Good, coming back up onto hands. Scoot the hips over the back knee. The front leg heel toes its way right to the middle of the mat. And then with that front leg straight, start to relax forward. Half splits. Work that left foot back onto the ground, lifting up the back knee, swivel open, wide angle forward fold. Maybe this time we're reaching through the legs, trying to see how deeply we can pull ourselves in. Again, think of the low back trying to lengthen. And from that length, that's where we begin to breathe space into the pose. Walking the hands underneath our face. We'll start to bend the right knee. This can either be kind of like a high lunge or a low lunge, lowering our hips right over that right heel. You can choose exactly what this is about. This could be about balance, trying to bring the hands to touch. This could be about depth, maybe sinking lower and lower, elbows toward the ground. Or maybe you just happen to end up just immediately in the perfect shape. Good, one more inhale. Exhale, hands touch the floor. We support our way to the second side. Good, high lunge or low side lunge. Choose that perfect position, maybe elbows, maybe balance. Back up onto the hands. From here, as we start to set the back toes down, we're preparing ourselves for that funky transition to come back to sit. So face the hands up to the top of the mat. And then we shift our weight into that front foot so that we can send the right knee to the outside of that left foot. If the outside isn't possible, just keep it on the inside, that's fine. Once we're here, the right hand or the right elbow hooks, posture lifts, and continue to spiral. Okay, when we unwind, both legs are extending out long in front of us. Inhale to reach high. Exhale to relax forward. Okay, rising up. Let's take that wild thing again. Let's start with the right foot planting, the left hand is behind us. Then swing up with that right arm. Good, lower. Now it's left foot planting, and then right hand behind us, and then the left arm raises us. Good, lower. Send our legs underneath us. Here we'll take a camel pose. This will be a supported camel, so keep the toes behind you. Keep the hands on the low back. And the goal for this one is to keep the hips pushing as far forward as possible. We're already starting to lean those hips forward. Squeeze the elbows together behind you. The chin could stay up if that's what feels best for the neck, or you can start to relax the head onto the little pillow that the shoulders make. Good, take one more inhale. And exhale, gentle rise. Send the hips back a moment with child pose. Arms forward or arms backward, your choice. Take a moment to feel that lower back especially decompress. And only when your low back says it's great to move on, at that point you can take a nice downward facing dog. And this will be a down dog where you stay as long as it feels good. Eventually, you're welcome to make your way to the top of the mat. Up at the top, let's take one or two more breaths, maybe trying to lengthen the low back just a little bit. And then we can rise up. If you need to bend the knees to roll up, that's fine. We've been upside down for a while. If you'd like to circle up, that's also great. Good, hands to heart. We'll go to a balance pose. If you ever need to go close to a wall, that's fine. Shift your weight into left foot and try to grab the right foot behind your back. So we're starting off with quad stretch. So that means knees are close together and tailbone scoops under. Trying to help us feel that quad opening. If you really don't feel it, continue to pull the knee backwards just a little bit. Good, and some days it's like, I just need to stay here. This is a pretty good spot. If you're at the point you'd like to play with dancer's pose, I like to flip my grip so that I can kind of wrap my thumb around the big toe and then lift this left arm up. It's about more of a lift than it is a reach forward. So keep that arm up and then kick the foot into the hand, only going forward to the point that you need to counterbalance. So everything's trying to go up, up, up. Good. One more inhale and exhale. Slowly rise. Release this foot down. Second side, we can grab that left foot behind us. And it's the quad stretch. So knees are close together. Elbow scoops under. Maybe the knee also pulls back just a hair if you need it. Inhale. Exhale, if we're going to dancer, flip the grip. Let this right arm reach up. And try to keep it lifting as much as you can as you kick the foot into the hand. That lift creates the back bend. Good. Nice inhale. Exhale, try to smoothly come up. And once we're there, release your foot. Step the feet a bit wider than the mat so that we can push the knees open. Nice little break for the hips and for that low back. Stillness is fine, or kind of swiveling the hips, just like an inch right and an inch left. Either is fine. Good, and from this angle where the feet are, let's start to straighten the legs, turn the toes forward, and just leave it here as we continue to round down. We always do these nice recovery poses after those back bends, just to keep our spine really happy. So now dropping the hands to the floor. Inhale, half lift, long spine. Exhale, plant the hands down. Step walk or jump to plank. You can either go straight to down dog or take a flow. Lowering to knees. Keep the toes tucked. And here we'll start to head toward full camel pose. If this isn't happening for you, just keep the hands in that supported version that we did earlier. So remember, first the hips have to go forward. I see so many people try to go to camel pose from like this leaning back. And that's not what it's about at all. It's about the back bend. So hips forward. And then maybe one hand to a heel. Maybe second hand. Hips continue to go forward. Imagine somebody's grabbing your hip bones and pulling you toward the mirrors or the front of the room. Good, a nice inhale. Exhale, head up, hands to the low back, and then gentle rise. Set the knees extra wide for a child pose. This will give us space to take a nice shoulder opener. So extending the arms forward in child pose. And then take this right arm and thread it under and through the left armpit area. So depending on how you focus your weight, you can ease either into more of a twist or into more of the shoulder opener. So if you're going for shoulder opener, try to roll toward the center of the forehead, even though it wants to be on the side of the head. And that'll start easing into that right shoulder. You want for more of the twist, instead roll to the side of the head and continue to open. Good. Start to unwind this right shoulder. And then take the left to tuck under. Good. Unwinding this one. Take 2 or 3 more breaths, just normal child pose. Eventually up to downward facing dog. Here we'll take a moment to play with mermaid. So float your right leg up to the sky and send your right knee under and through into pigeon pose shape. We're going to scoot the back knee backwards. So not everybody goes to the full thing, so don't feel like you have to. But we're aiming to grab that left foot in the left hand. So already this could be really intense for quads. So this is fine to just kind of back away from this. But if this is still doing okay, what we start to do is inch the toes toward the wrist. That's working, inch it further to the forearm. If that's okay, inch it to the elbow crease. If you get it to elbow crease, that left hand has to point upward. And from here, it's the right arm that circles up and behind us. So a lot of people face open to the side in mermaid pose. Mermaid is actually a transition to get to full king pigeon pose. So I like to try to turn my shoulders toward the front of the room, so toward the mirror side, as much as possible to help that transition toward king pigeon. But rotating open to the side is a variation to help it. Yeah, and just do your best, good. When you're ready to release, and even just that quad stretch is super good, so that's a beautiful spot to be for now as well. But when you were ready to release, let's take some time just releasing pigeon. Good, planting the hands, tuck the back toes, let's lift up through downward facing dog. Feel that low back especially, have some length and some release. Good, left leg floats, send it under and through to pigeon. The back knee scoots back. So again, this is an okay spot to be. If you're gonna try to lift up the right toes, see if that right hand can grab it. And this again is great. This stretches the quad. This helps to prepare us eventually for it. If this is okay, try to inch the toes toward wrist, maybe toward forearm. If you get to elbow, point the fingers up and try to see if you can find the connection up and back. Good. It's hard to balance. So I'll kind of like find a lift instead of a lowering. Yeah, that little lift, that squeezing of your thighs helps the balance tremendously. Good. And whenever you're happy, just gentle, gentle release toward sleeping pigeon. Okay, planting our hands into downward facing dog, little wiggles for knees. We're lifting for the hips. Eventually lowering down to sit. And then even lowering all the way down onto our backs. We'll include one last little back bend today, but first just hug the knees into the chest. This is the pose that we'll also return to right afterward. So this last pose is our full wheel pose. So not everybody in this class will probably make it all the way up. So if the full thing is not possible, you'll do what we did at the beginning, practicing the bridge pose. And so let's all start off already right there. Feet on the floor. And then even just take a little prep lift. So lift up the tailbone, rise up one vertebrae at a time. And you'll just work on this aspect of lift. Lots of strength being built in those glutes. So then go ahead and lower down for a moment, hips on the earth. Now to head up to the full wheel, you're gonna take the hands and place the middle fingers close to the shoulders. Elbows are pointing up, trying to squeeze inward. And so to get into the full wheel, we start off from a bridge pose. We lift up the hips. And then what we do is we bump the hips up so that we're resting on the crown of the head. Once you're on the crown of the head, continue to press all the way up. It's up to you how long to stay. You'll gently reverse out, just very same way that you got into it. Good. And then when you're ready to be down, you'll just hug your knees in and rock those hips for a moment. Good work. Feel how open that heart is now. The lungs feel like they could keep on going on for days. That's what joy feels like to me. It feels like this open heart, that open breath. So easy to just let it flow. So then there were an additional pose to help the recovery process here will be a shoulder stand toward the plow pose. But know that if that's not what your body wants today, you can do kind of restorative variations, just letting the legs float, kind of helping with your hands. You can absolutely do that. So I personally come to this pose by planting the feet, lifting my hips up, and then kind of scooting my elbows right under my waist. But I've noticed not everybody can do that. So people also get into this by rolling. By kind of coming and rolling with some momentum, lifting the hips up, and then just placing the hands there. So that's fine as well. Good, yep, just like that. And then you've already got the elbows kind of set up underneath your body. Good. So from the shoulder stand, we lift the legs up. You can even use the wall next to you to kind of push the feet into the wall.
I used to be able to do this.
I know, it's been a while. And sometimes here I'll take one leg back behind me, so I'm stretching one leg at a time. Then maybe the other one. Good, and then maybe both feet together toward plow pose. So that low back finally getting the rounding. Beautiful thing right after all that back bending we did today. Give it that chance to recover. Only if the toes touch down, then the hands can release, maybe clasping behind the back. Whenever you feel ready to come out, and there's no rush, you can stay a bit longer, but when you feel that point, try to roll out as slowly as possible, and then just take the knees back into the chest. A little bit of rocking for that low back when you get there. So there might be last poses that you need here. Maybe take a shoulder stretch, maybe take a twist or happy baby pose. Take any of those last things that your body needs until it's ready to head into that Shavasana rest. For deep inhales during the Shavasana, imagine you're inviting in pure joy or pure peace or pure love, understanding it on a level that's deeper than we ever have before. Into deepen inhales and exhales. Introduce little movements back to fingers and toes, ankles and wrists. Stretching out like we're waking up first thing in the morning. Eventually heading to a nice fetal position. Taking 2 or 3 more good deep breaths. Eventually rising to a comfortable seated place. As we're here, take hands onto the knees for a moment and let your spine have a couple of freeform wiggles. Maybe left and right, maybe circles. If you find a good spot that would like to pause, feel free to take an extra moment there. Super easy, super easeful. Knowing that health in our body can be as simple as these small little movements that we're taking. Perhaps work the spine erect again, dropping the right ear to the right shoulder. Lift, left ear to the left shoulder. Lift. Chin up to stretch the front of the throat. And chin down to stretch the back of the neck. As the head comes back up to neutral, we'll join our hands together in front of the heart, connecting to our idea of peace, love, tolerance, joy. Trying to fully embody these ideas as we move forward with our conversations, with the way that we drive, even the way that we cook, and with the gifts that we give. With these ideas to try to help us move forward in a slightly higher way, let's wrap up the time we got to share together today with the sound of Om. Deep inhale now. May we be filled with light, and happiness, and peace. Namaste.